awesome.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No,
You're awesome.
You are awesome.
sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. This is one of those intros that I'm walking for, so you're going to hear the labored breath, people. Try to keep this short and sweet for you. Part 2 of my conversation with Chris Revill from Let's Chat with Revill and Friends is what we're about to listen to. Finally, at the last 20 minutes of this interview is when we kind of finally discuss about Let's Chat and his origin point. The rest of the podcast is a lot of, just us shooting the shit, talking about pop culture and podcasting and politics a little bit. It was a really fun, really interesting conversation that I had with Chris. Loved it. And because of that conversation, we are now part of the Core Temp Arts podcast network, which is like a dream come true. I've wanted to be part. You super friends that have been with me since the beginning know of the trials and tribulations of the hhwst.net radio network and the internet podcast thing that we used to do back in the day with all the different podcasts. So you know that this is kind of a big deal for me. I really enjoy it. Now, this episode 52, marks the final episode of our first year of production. I started recording over a year ago, but we started producing and putting them out February 1st, 2016. And it just so happens that February 1st, 2017 is a Wednesday when we will be dropping episode 53. And there's no better way to celebrate your podcast's podiversary, the very first one, than doing a live show. Yes, there is. Doing it with other podcasts, having a little mini festival of sorts. That's what we've been getting some press on Geekadelphia, and they've been calling it a festival, and that's great. I love the comparison. Everything is awesome. The very first podiversary event is going to be Sunday, January 29th, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Tattooed Mom on South Street, 530 South Street, Philadelphia, PA. Come out. It's free. It's free funny, free for nothing. It's going to be a good time. We have at 1 o'clock a Quest for Magic and Steele. At 2, 25 o'clock, Pod. At 3, Everything is Awesome goes live. At 4, Full Belly Laughs. And to round out the night, my good friend Jeff Stormer from the Party of One podcast is going to close us out. I'm so excited. We have so many great sponsors. I'm going to talk about 2 of them right now. SpareMin, they are sponsoring an open bar for us. How crazy is that? SpareMin is going to sponsor an open bar starting at 3 p.m. Obviously, we're going to celebrate Everything is Awesome big time. Open bar starts at 3 p.m. and it's limited to bottles and drafts only, and there is a limit. At some point the money is going to run out, but hey, let's enjoy it while it lasts, shall we? And the other sponsor who I'm really excited that's on board with us is Fuck Cancer. Huge, you guys know, what I went through in 2016 with my uncle. At the time of this recording, it's honestly probably been almost exactly a year since he was diagnosed. And before that year was up, we lost him in November. So F Cancer was and is a huge part of my life. And so happy that they're on board. We're going to be accepting cash donations on site. You can donate online by going to letsfcancer.com. So excited to have them on board. It's going to be a great event, guys. It turned into something dopey and became this big bad thing. I'm really excited for it. One last thing. This Saturday, so a couple days from when this drops, the day before we go live, you can, if you're in the Philly area, or hell, you can go online, just search Ben FM. At 7 a.m. On Ben FM 95.7 in Philly area, I will be on the Ben Around Philly show to do an interview about our event on Sunday in Philly, Tattooed Mom. Come check it out. It's going to be so much fun. Anyway, let's get to Chris from Let's Chat with Revill and Friends right here on awesomepodcast.com and Core Temp Arts We're going to start doing a Robin Williams special. So that one's like a not numbered episode. I wanted to do a Christmas special this year. I just didn't have time to sit down and record it, but that's going to be an unnumbered episode. So, and now, and I guess we're going to segue into this now. Likely next year I'll start doing a Carrie Fisher special.
Because she died today.
Yeah, and which like fucking, and hence the reason like 2016 can eat a bag of dicks. Like,
yeah, I mean,
now
she's dead.
Now, yeah, it's so for me. So Robin, for whatever reason, Robin Williams was like the first celebrity death. I've never been affected by a celebrity death, but like when Robin Williams died a couple of years ago,
I think he died on my birthday. To be honest, was it
August 11th?
Yes. It was. I think I was like joking, like he's overshining my birthday, that dick. But I'm a huge Robin Williams fan, so and I knew that as a comedian he would find that funny.
And he actually Carrie Fisher died on one of my best friend's birthday. Like my friend's birthday was today.
Happy birthday to Kev's friend. Sorry about no one caring.
If you listen to both episodes today that I posted, episode 45 was part 2 with Mike from Doom Thugs. My friend was in the intro, Dave.
Oh, okay.
He was.
Hey, Dave. I still care it's your birthday.
I didn't. I said before I found out Carrie Fisher died, I sent him a text saying happy birthday. I'm going to see him at work tomorrow, and that's what I'm going to say. I blame him for Carrie Fisher's death because it's totally his fault. But Robin Williams' death like deeply affected me. Like I was it's like the next day on my way to work, I busted out the phone. I started recording, which I don't think I ever aired, but I started recording, and like I broke down and cried, like talking about Robin Williams, and I feel like
is it also because you're like
a
dad, so you're like a father left his kids. It was suicide, which
I don't know what it was. Like I think what it was for me was that if the funniest man in the world can commit suicide, like what chance do I have?
But then
and I think that's what
I think a lot of people realize that. But but you know, if you ever want, go back and listen to his interview he did some years ago on WTF with Mark Maron, and you'll see the other side of Robin Williams, where you're like, oh, he was a tormented addict. You know, he's struggled and had highs and lows, and suicide cuts across every border. But yeah, it was so surprising when he died.
It was, and I think that like when I read that like Carrie Fisher died today, I know my reaction should have been very similar to my reaction with Robin Williams, because Carrie Fisher, like, even though like we are kind of like a second generation Star Wars kids.
Yeah, I'm actually not a Star Wars kid.
Oh, okay. So you're not a Star Wars fan.
I am. That's the thing. I am a fan of Star Wars, but you can't say that you're a fan to certain fans, because then they'll shame you for not knowing enough about it. So
okay, fair enough.
I agree. I certainly like it, but it's not my Simpsons. I
agree. Okay, yeah. So it's not my Kevin Smith.
It's not.
But there were people.
Yeah, and my true knowledge of her actually was more of her advocacy work for the mental health.
Okay.
And and her appearance on 30 Rock. I mean, I obviously knew Princess Leia and stuff, but she's funny. Like did you know she was like a really well-known like script doctor? Like she's one of the best script writers in the industry. Then she never like was famous for it. She was like unknown like writer, which I never knew.
No, I mean that's something that I think I read today.
She was like, it's cool. It's like, Princess Leia, which is an iconic role, but there was so much more to her, which is I'm kind of having a fun time learning about her. Like,
yeah, me too.
I loved her, and is she in Bob Strike Back?
Yes, she was great in that. Yeah, she was not paid. She said, "I don't want to be paid for this. I just want you to get me at least 2 beaver chairs, because I think that's the appropriate payment for doing this gig." And that was her being dirty.
Yeah,
that was her just doing a dirty.
Yeah. She's like a funny person. And then it came out that she was fucking her and Harrison Ford were fucking the whole time. Yeah. Which good for her, but what a creep on his part, right? A 30-something-year-old dude's fucking a 19-year-old when you're married with kids. That's like if we did that.
Yeah. Whoa,
Good for her.
Yeah, I mean,
Great for her.
married with kids. Like if you're not married and you don't have kids, even I mean, it's if you're single, whether you have kids or not. I mean, I guess if you have
19,
kids,
Ugh.
it is like for me, like maybe 21 is where you have to go for that. Like get an adult,
Yeah.
but
Good for her for
so
getting
so
that
I was
D.
thinking, yeah, good for her.
That's what
But I was thinking about it.
for her.
Yes, I was thinking about it, and not that. I wasn't thinking about that today, but I was.
That's what I think about.
When I was reading, like when I read around, I think 1:00 is when I found out that she passed away, and I like I was affected by it. Like she was, I think a lot of second generation Star Wars kids and whatnot. Like she was still my first crush. Like as a kid, like like Princess Leia was my first crush, and I wouldn't like I was born. We were born what like about 10 years after the original Star Wars. A little less than that, 7 years. So like we were, there was like a whole like little generation, maybe a half generation before us that was born and alive to watch Star Wars in the theater. But like then I came around and I didn't watch Star Wars until the early 90s when I was about 7 years old. So that's where the second generation kind of comes in, and like she was my first crush and whatnot. Yeah. And I was thinking about it today, like this really should affect me the way Robin Williams' death affected me. But like for me, and this is why like 2016, the real reason 2016 can eat a bag of dicks to me, for me is because my uncle passed away. And he was 47 years old. He would have turned 48 on December 20th.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And thank you. And like that's been, and he was more of a big brother to me.
Am I right to remember you guys were like close in age?
Yeah, he's like, I'm 32. He would have been 48 just a few days ago.
Oh, so that's more like an older brother.
Yeah. He was about 15 and a half years older than me. We were really close. I mean, at one point my family moved into my mom's mother's house, and that's that was her brother, so like we lived with him for a while. I shared a room with him for a while. He worked at Blockbuster Video.
Oh, he's so like cool
he was
guy.
Yeah, we always were able to get all the cool things rented first. He introduced me to Star Wars. He introduced me to Leisure Suit Larry. He introduced me to Kevin Smith. And it's, I like unknowingly, I didn't realize it until he was in the hospital. And I didn't really even realize it until like we knew that it wasn't like that he wasn't going to make it. That he is the person who shaped me more than anyone else. Mm-hmm. I always give a lot of credit to like the celebrities, like the Kevin Smith, Shawn Michaels, whoever. Like I give a lot of credit to those type of people that I grew up watching on television, helping shape who I am as a creative type. But really, it all goes to my uncle. It all stems to my uncle. And I think like for that reason, like when I found out that Carrie Fisher died today, I was just like, well, I mean, she's a celebrity. I really don't know her. Like that's how I take every other celebrity death.
I know.
Except for Robin Williams, and I think except for Carrie Fisher, except for the fact that my uncle passed away just like about a month and a half ago.
Fresh wounds, man.
Yeah. So I like, and who knows? Like, I feel like next year, maybe I'll be thinking about it, and when we do the Carrie Fisher special, I'll probably have more feelings about it. But like, it's still,
it's like every funeral that you go to, it's sad for the person that you lost, and you're also thinking to every other funeral you've been to.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had
so who knows?
A lot of people die in my life, so like it's like a weird thing. I have a weird obsession I have. But yeah, no, it's a weird thing. You go to it's. When a celebrity dies, it's reminding you of someone you lost or your own mortality.
Yeah, and especially now that we're like in our 30s, like and like there's these people who we now grew up with. Like we're officially entering that generation of like the people we watched and looked up to, not just the people we kind of grew up with.
Yeah,
like for my dad,
she's only 20-something years older than us. Like not even. Yeah, she's 18 years older than us. Or no, she was 60.
No, 28.
28 years. 28. Sorry.
She's 28 years older.
That's a lot, but it's not.
That's my dad will be 60 in January.
Exactly. That's so that's the way you look at it. You're like, oh my god, my dad.
So Yeah, so he's part of the really you expect people that he grew up with to be passing away, like your Adam Wests. Like Adam West is 80 some years old, I think.
God, Stan Lee. Stan Lee
is 94.
Yeah, he outlived Leia. Okay,
yeah, and it's
I'll buy a lot.
Yeah, that's the generation you picture dying off, not your Robin Williams. Like, I don't like the Robin Williams, the Carrie Fishers, the Harrison Fords. Even though Harrison Ford, I think he is in his. He's
how is he not dead?
He was in a plane crash.
I know.
And he's still alive.
Well,
but like
my brother and I were talking about this, and it's kind of like just simple mathematics. Is like there was a huge cultural explosion from the 60s and 70s, and that was 40 years ago. So that's why we're gonna have all these celebrities' deaths.
That's true. So that's true. And
more people are famous at that time than ever. And then the baby boomers. And now it's like the older our parents get, their generation and stuff. And yeah, it sucks. There's no rhyme or reason in life why people die. Like, I've had friends die at 20 and it's just fucking sucks.
Awful.
Yeah. I was sad to lose her, but I didn't get emotional about her death. When Phil Hartman died when I was very young, I got really emotional about that for some reason.
And I could see that, like, I think if I was older, his death would have affected me more. But at the time, like, I just kind of knew him from news radio and Saturday Night Live. I don't think I've watched that movie once.
He was like the secret comedian that I thought only I liked, because that's how I was that young. I didn't understand how that worked. Like, I thought I was sneaking up late to watch Phil Hartman on SNL, and no one knew who he was in the world.
Yeah.
He was like my secret guy that no one of my friends knew who he was. And when he was like murdered, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember it being a big deal, and I remember it like being something that was talked about. But like I said, for me, the first death that actually affected me was Robin Williams.
How old were we? You're 30? We were 30 when that happened?
Yeah, we were about. Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah. So it was my 30th birthday.
Yeah. So it was.
I was having a party at my parents' house when it happened. And I was like, thanks, guys.
I was literally making dinner, and I happened to be on Twitter, or no, a Twitter alert popped up on my phone saying Robin Williams commits suicide, and I was like, holy shit! And we were eating dinner outside, and we were talking about it, and it was crazy.
And someone else died on my birthday. That year that Bernie Mac died, there was like 3 famous people who all died and it was like my friend's birthday, my birthday, and I forgot who else, but someone died on both of our birthdays. So we would always like curse Bernie Mac and some other dude because we're just dicks.
That's crazy. But yeah, 2016. I have one of my buddies, Garrett, who's the comedian. He posted on Twitter as like a little joke that there's going to be a lot of college papers in 2017 that are titled "From Prince to Princess Leia: 2016 and the Death of American Pop Culture."
Oh God,
because like
know.
That's at Philadelphia is Garrett Smith on Twitter. That's where he posted that. But
that's like, isn't that the shitty thing too? I almost hate when a celebrity dies. I'm like, ugh, Facebook statuses. You don't care, people, or think pieces, which I nothing against them, but I just like, I get sick of it because I'm like, all right. So I was talking about this with my brother. So I grew up in the punk rock scene in Connecticut when I was younger, like heavily into music and like friends with lots of music snobs. And I had friends who I have known for years, and we've talked about music to like high fidelity, like level amount, like those like kind of movies, like, just obnoxiously going into music. And I have friends, the day that David Bowie died, made these long posts about how much they love David Bowie. And I'm like, you motherfucker, you have never said David Bowie's name in front of me. And I have talked to you for like 8 hours straight about like dissecting like stupid like Alkaline Trio record chords and just not even good bands, just like talking about music extensively. And you've never mentioned that you like David Bowie once until this moment. So sometimes I think people kind of want just the attention.
Yeah, totally. And I'll tell you,
guys, I'm really not this bad. Well, a little bit.
And I'll tell you what, I think I think the only other death that happened this year that I commented about that
Prince
affected me, no, but affected me, but not in the way Robin Williams did, not in the way that Carrie Fisher, no, Alan Rickman.
See, yeah, if they're in a Kevin Smith movie, it will affect me. That's how I was like, oh my God, the guy from Dogma.
Yeah, and for me it was more than that. Like it was like holy, like and not Snape. Like great, he did have a great decade or whatever of being Snape, but like that's fucking Hans from Die Hard. Like
Oh, Hans McGruber. Do you watch Bob's
yeah,
Burgers?
no, I
They do
don't.
a
I don't.
Die Hard working girl musical episode where Gene comes out. He's like, "I'm Hans Gruber and I'm grouping or something." I was watching today, and it's brilliant.
I'll have to watch that
Sorry,
episode at the very least.
that. Yeah, Alan Rickman. That was another one, but he was pretty old too, right?
No, he was in his 60s. I don't think he was there was a bunch of people. I think a lot of the people that died this year. The reason it's so shocking is because a lot of them weren't that old. Like I mean, I guess they're all dying because they were all doing drugs 40 years ago.
Carrie Fisher was a recovering cocaine user.
Yeah. I mean,
and Star Wars seemed to have like kind of a really negative effect on her, the way her life went.
Yeah. Well, she was 19.
And she was the only one who was sexualized. Like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill were fully clothed. You know what I mean? Like, I think men are kind of getting a piece of it. If you like kind of see how like we interact on Twitter versus a woman, a good looking a woman on Twitter, but she was doing that in the 60s where it was like, but with being a 19-year-old girl, and people just harassed her.
Yeah,
do you know she has a dog named Gary Fisher? Isn't that the funniest thing in the world?
It's fantastic.
That should explain Carrie Fisher as a nutshell. She's that kind of lady that she named her dog Gary.
And it's so like I would say so this year I may have thrown out random RIPs for a lot of the people that passed away this year.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm a hypocrite, by the way.
Because Matt, but like I think Alan Rickman was the only one I threw out like multiple tweets for. Today, I had like a 2-part tweet that I sent out for Carrie Fisher.
You got to.
And that's like definitely. I mean, I would say I guess part of it's like seeking attention, but it's also like for me, like especially with Carrie Fisher, especially with Robin Williams is so far the only one, and who knows what will happen in the next couple of days with Carrie Fisher. But Robin Williams, I wrote like a 2-page blog post about. Like I was really fucked up by it.
Dude, you gotta listen to his Marin interview, man. You have to.
You know what? And you're not the first person to say this, and so I should.
I don't mean that like
get on
it
that.
Won't give you any closure. I think it was nice to hear him as a person for an hour and just talk about everything.
Well, that's what I like that, and I don't know why I don't listen to Marin because like that's totally the show that I like. Like that's what I want this show to be, where it's just like we're sitting around bullshitting for the last hour and plus minutes, and it's not like there's no agenda behind it really.
No. It's a good show, but it's I'm probably like you're like me. It's just there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, because there is so much. That's the only problem with new media is that there's so much of it you don't know what to go after.
No,
and it's like I'm gonna pull up if I have enough juice in my phone here. I'm gonna pull up the podcast that I have in my unplayed episodes list. First of all, when I move the little bar, it is about a quarter of an inch long, meaning I have episodes that go back a very long time. But I have, I'm in the middle of listening to Tell 'em Steve Dave. I have to catch up on This Feels Terrible. I'm an episode behind. A Quest for Magic and Steele. I Like to Movie. The Ford Cast, a Harrison Ford podcast. 25 O'Clock Pod. After 6, Let's Chat with Revill and Friends. Answer Machine podcast. Oh God, what's this one called? Blacklisted. And this is just like what I'm like. There's plenty more that if I go further down, this makes me happy. Tattooed Banana, like that. I just like it stopped updating because I haven't been listening. Yeah. What's that? Tattooed Banana.
These are good.
Yeah, I had them on the show. They were really fun.
I think I tried to set something up with them, and then I think I dropped the ball, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I don't think they don't seem the type that would like drop the ball there. They were definitely cool.
That was
they were
me.
Fun to talk
It was
with.
me. I'm pretty sure I just forgot to write back to them.
Yeah.
So sorry, guys.
Yeah, they're cool guys. The After 6 guys are really cool too. Like They so I really enjoy this type of show, the interview type show or the long form conversation. But I think my favorite type of show overall is what like Tattoo Bananas do and what After Six do. It's where like two friends just sit around and talk, and that all stems to Kevin Smith. Like that's just like Smodcast. Smodcast for me, like Smodcast is just two friends sitting around talking. Like that's I've tried to recreate Smodcast where it's me and my friends who like we should be doing silly shit like that, like where we just start going off and doing voices, and when we sit down in front of a microphone, all we do is have a conversation. We don't actually like go on goofy tangents or anything like that. Off mic all the time we do. As soon as we turn the mic on, we don't. Fat Man on Batman is what inspired this show.
It's got
this
a little more news oriented.
Yes. The original incarnation of Fat Man on Batman, which was just Kevin Smith, and it was interviewing people within the Batman community. That was the original concept that inspired Everything Is Awesome. Originally, this show was called Crew Number Studios Presents, and it was going to be me just talking to other podcasters. And at the time, that's going back almost 3 years ago now, I didn't know about Philadelphia Podcasting Society. Podder Family wasn't a thing, or maybe it was, and I didn't know about it.
I don't think so.
And
maybe not.
And I was like, there's no way I can successfully do a show week in and week out with just podcasters. I need to broaden this to like talk to just whoever. Like, let's talk to actors, let's talk to authors, let's talk to musicians, and like to the point where I'll talk to like a friend who's just like has no fame whatsoever or does nothing, has no agenda, but has an awesome story or an awesome conversation or whatever in them. I'll talk to anyone really on this show. So it all stems from that Fat Man on Batman episode.
We totally set out to do the exact same thing, which is so funny.
Yeah, and I say this a lot when I get into this conversation. Probably said it on the episode that I was on your show, but like Jeff Stormer from Party of One podcast, he said it perfectly. Someone asked him why he does his show, and he does a 2-player tabletop podcast. And he said, I wanted an excuse to play more tabletop. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's fucking genius. Like that's what this show is. My show is just an excuse to find more people to talk to, more interesting people,
more friends
to talk to and have interest. Yes, exactly.
Ultimately, especially as life goes, I hate being when you get older, but like, as things progress, it's harder to talk to people. I don't know. It's just, it's cool. And then it's cool to use it as be like, I like this show and I can, or movie or podcast, and now I can be a part of it or connect with someone who was a part of something I love. Like I talked to someone who was in The Force Awakens. Like that was fucking awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
They had like a tiny role, but they got to be part of something huge.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll ask her on the show too. Anna Maria. She's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, that's it. We're gonna talk
Twitter's
briefly
great.
After this recording.
She was on the Lost at Home podcast, so that just listen to podcasts, hear a guest, and then tweet the person, "Hey, I heard you on the show. Would love to have you on mine." And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I actually was thinking today. I was like, I'm just gonna go down his list and cherry pick people I want.
Just write to me afterwards who you want, and I'll see. Because some people's email I have, some of them are just Twitter.
Oh,
and always just
that's very cool.
Yeah, like I do. I have friends. I'm like, I just had this person on. Just tell them that you heard them and you liked it, and ask them on. And I can't guarantee what will happen, but who knows why people say yes? But
yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. Like, it's funny because I had someone come to me and say, "How'd you get Aaron McGathy on your show?" And I told them what I did, and they're like, "Yeah, we did the same thing. We didn't get a response."
It's just timing.
And I was like, "Well, when did you email her?" And that's what I said. I was like, when did you email her? Oh, about like 6 months ago. I was like, in the middle of her divorce? Yeah. She didn't respond in the middle of her divorce.
Yeah.
like now's the time to email her.
Yeah. So I was talking to the producer, David, who's for his future episode. He's coming on recently. We just recorded the other day for, do you listen to the Unreadable Rant?
No, I know them though.
They get actual celebrities on there, which kind of blows my mind.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, we just fund PR and people, and we wait till the person we want is going on some sort of promotional tour, and we reach out. And I was like, oh, it's just that easy.
Wow,
he's like, yeah.
Too. Yeah.
It's like, that's what I've been doing wrong.
That's pretty genius. That's a good idea.
But I'm also not after
and
names. Like I've also been criticized for my show's lack of consistency because it can be hard to market or brand. So when you're not trying to make money off it, it's kind of more fun. It's easier because like I could have like a scientist on, and then the next person's like an actor, and then the next episode might be my friend or a fellow podcaster.
Yeah, we are literally doing the same show.
So sometimes it's good, and like, I am trying to do a little. I try to like in my head I have consistency where I'll try to put like 2 or 3 in a row, and then I like. Well, my favorite TV shows, I love episodes are my favorite episodes of TV shows are the ones where they like in West Wing they would do like the whole season and then they would do like a one-off documentary series, and like I love that episode even though it doesn't fit their format. It was my favorite one, so I'm just such a fan of taking the mold and kind of bending and breaking with it. Which
and going with that, like some of my favorite episodes of like guy or girl on guy are not the ones where she has a huge name.
Yeah, no, same
It's
here.
like she did one with her mom.
Oh, I haven't listened to it yet.
She did one with her mom very recently, and that was fantastic. A fantastic listen. And I mean, and the one after that she did with Charlize Theron.
She had Charlize Theron on her
chick
podcast?
from Monster. Yeah, that was her most recent one. I was like, holy shit, that seems like a big name, but like they are apparently really good friends now. So like but like I tell you what, the conversation with her mother was more interesting than the one with Charlize.
The lesson I learned, I learned this from the Nerdist podcast, which I absolutely love, when they had Harrison Ford on, and it fucking sucked. It was terrible. They'll admit it because and I was like, oh, so sometimes it's about a name to pull you in to download it, and then sometimes it just and it made me feel so good. It made me feel so wonderful because I've listened to their episodes of just them and I love it, and I think that was like a huge inspiration for me. I don't know if I had a show at the time, but I remember listening to it and being like, oh, all right, so big names don't always equal good, and sometimes it's hard. The bigger the name, the worse it is. Like when they had Tom Cruise on, because you could tell this is like a person who's still protecting. They're still acting like, I don't know. It didn't feel like a genuine person. Like that's why comedians are great, because they're like, whatever you want to hear. Let's have a true.
Well, and like it's one thing for like Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise to go on a late night show because that's a format that is molded to fit them, to fit the celebrity.
It's fake.
Whereas a podcast is very intimate. Like
it's caveman-esque. It's like sitting around a fire.
Yeah, and the people, like a person who watches, and I love Conan, I love Fallon, I love all these guys on late night, but like you're on a television box that literally almost everyone in the world has access to, and if you have a TV. Literally, if you have a TV, you have access to Jimmy Fallon because he's on broadcast television. So, like, you have the potential to have every single person that owns a TV to watch your show. But if you're hosting a podcast, people are seeking Everything Is Awesome is out. People are seeking Let's Chat with Revill and Friends out. Like you might be doing some advertising and you're gaining some listeners that way, but it's not like we work for our audience more than any other medium, really. And so
you might get less people to listen to it or watch it, but the people who will retain. I'm more likely to go see a movie now if I hear the actor director on a podcast than a commercial or a late night segment. It creates a different relationship.
Yes, exactly. It's a much more intimate relationship because not only whether it's as a fan of a podcast, like I'm seeking, and I may have been recommended to listen to it, or I may have found it and said, hey, that looks good, but like I seek it out week in and week out. I may be subscribed to it, but like I still have to pick and choose which podcast I'm going to listen to. Out of the 35 that I have on my phone, like I still need to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this one today. So like I need to get on the process of listening at 1.5 speed so that I can get through it quicker because it's just insane. So it's.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so like, but it's just the point is podcasts are great. This is what I'm trying to do.
Without us probably, I'm assuming, falling into an echo chamber, so I don't want to make it about the election. But the thing that kind of surprised me about the 2016 election that any of the candidates didn't rely more on podcasting. Well, I know Hillary Clinton made a podcast that I don't know the numbers, but it was not really received very well because it was just stupid. Like when Obama went on WTF, that got 1 million downloads in the first 24 hours. Like, how can I mean, I'm not a campaign manager, and I don't. Maybe there's reasons not to, but in my head, like if you're a Gary Johnson or a Jill Stein or someone small, like trying to, or even like a Hillary, and you're just trying to get your message out there to a different audience, how is not going on like the Katie Couric podcast or WTF or just something? Because they're gonna let you control your image and edit, like show your human side. Like I think that was a fail on I won't say his name. Fuck that guy. But I just don't understand how that wasn't a part of it. Like I'm like, this is such a huge thing. Like when Obama went on WTF, I think whatever your thoughts on him were, you might at least know him as a person. You could still call him a Muslim and think he was born in Kenya, but you know him a little better.
Well, and Obama was like he just knew it turned out he knew the young people.
It turned out one of his staff members listened to WTF and was a huge fan. And I think they also, they waited till he was almost out of office towards, second term. But yeah, that's what they said. He was just trying to reach more young people. And that was, I know people who hate Obama and listen to that episode. God, I would listen to Trump if I could, if he would have an honest, just like, I just want to know you as a person. I like hearing about him and Michelle when they're dating and like stories about that and how he loved Dick Gregory. And like, he felt like a guy and I loved it. I loved it so much.
I think me and my buddy had this conversation about the election in general. And we're getting to a point where we're not in a broadcast world anymore. Like no one wants to admit it. I know it. I think Obama was like, he kind of took the step into admitting that like new media is the future. Like that's where your young people are. Mm-hmm. Why aren't like, there should be more YouTube, Netflix, podcasts, Twitch, whatever. Like there should have been more done towards that. If you're because first of all, if you're throwing all this money towards whatever bullshit you're throwing money towards, it's not going to cost you that much more. If anything at all,
you could make a podcast for like $100.
Yeah, you don't even I guarantee you that whatever smartphone they have, whether it be iPhone or whatever, I think some government, I think like you have to have a BlackBerry because of the security
Not
on
anymore,
it. I don't know if that counts.
Government is notorious slow for tech change, but yeah, rent a studio and then like craft your. I don't know it. I think starting her own podcast was a terrible idea because it came off very contrived and you controlling the story.
No, and I don't think that's what they should have been doing at all. I think it did not
do well. That was just
like you went on Jimmy Fallon. That's great and all, but like, and you certainly should do that. You should certainly go on the late night circuit, but like go on the podcast circuit too. And obviously you're not going to be on Everything Is Awesome or Let's Chat with Revill and Friends, but go on Mark Maron, go on Aisha Tyler, go on some of these higher profile
There's some
podcasts.
Political ones, and it kind of struck me as odd. Well, here's another thing of like conservative media is very talk radio is huge in conservative. I mean, if you ever drive anywhere, there's conservative talk radio anywhere in the country, every hour, every day. A podcast is basically that. So like, how is this not more? How are they not more for older people? Like it makes so. Why is there not? I don't know. Like Glenn Beck can exist in his own little biosphere, Glenn Beckism, through the podcast. Like he's a genius. Like he's doing great work. I don't agree with, but he's doing stuff that is great for what he's taking. He's doing what we're saying, but just taking it and bringing it to his audience directly. I was like, how are the bigger name politicians not doing that? How is like the smaller ones who can't, like if you're Gary Johnson and Jill Stein and you can't get into the debate the night of the DNC or the RNC debate, make a Facebook Live and debate each other. Done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. it was something that I think was missed out on. And I think it's part of the reason why I don't think the focus was on young people.
No, we were left out of
like
this election
Obama had.
completely.
Yeah, Obama, like the Obama elections had the highest young people turnout.
Yeah, and there was some energy.
Now, I went and voted. Yeah, I went and voted,
I voted.
because I personally
vote in every
didn't
election,
want
local, state, I do them all.
I think the only election I only do like the presidential. I'm a bad American. I only do.
You're better than some.
Everyone I have to. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean, really, the ones that I should be more worried about are the local and state ones. But
we're
regardless,
not here to get into that conversation today.
Yeah.
Again, it's an echo chamber. I also agree with you. No one wants to hear that.
Yeah, but I don't know what I was saying. Fuck Trump is what I'm saying. Okay.
That's not even worth going down that path, because it's like, I also agree. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna say that hasn't been said?
Yeah, it's funny. Because at the Philadelphia Podcast Fest, I had a couple Trump jokes, thinking like, just like the rest of the world, like was like he's not gonna win, so like we have nothing to worry about. So going back to Tattooed Moms on January 29th, it's got to be echoed that I fucked up. I'm taking blame for the Trump win.
Yeah, but politicians, like everyone, like it's funny. It just took like new media to kind of catch on, which then I guess allowed the Mark Marons and the that stuff to explode. But it's funny, like it takes big companies years to notice, and sometimes you could see when they're not done right, when they're really just like, oh, this is a thing, and then they pop up and disappear. Yeah, there's been some pretty big famous people who've had podcasts that disappear quickly.
Yeah. Well, so I had I think I heard this from Jason Ashley from Too Cool for Tabletop, but there's this podcast, there's these stats out there for podcasts that everyone that starts one, maybe 50% of them hit 10 episodes.
Oh, I've seen some of those stats of like there's hundreds of thousands on iTunes that just Dude, I've started those podcasts.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I think I've always made it to 10 episodes, but out of those 50% that hit 10 episodes, like even a smaller percentage hit 50 episodes. And I've been part of that number where I don't hit that number. And I'm God damn it, this podcast is hitting that number. But yeah, I mean, it's so many, there's that. It seems so easy, and I think that's why a lot of people say, I'm going to start one. But once you start doing it, you realize, oh, there's a lot of work to go into this. Or you go into it thinking, I'm going to have instant fame, I'm going to make money off of this, and you don't. And I think that's the huge mistake a lot of podcasters go in, like a lot of newbie podcasters.
I heard Joe Rogan say it took him 4 years to get where he was 4 years ago. And I was like, all right, I'll stick it up. I don't know why I stuck with it, but it's one of the very few things in my life that I started that I kept with because I just love it. And there's just nothing more to it.
Yeah.
I
did the longest run of episodes I did was Happy Hour was a podcast I did. That went, I think, 150 some episodes.
Damn.
And then I was part of this other podcast called Stabcast. Now I feel like I was part of that for 200 episodes. But I don't think that's accurate because I started that a couple weeks into Happy Hour. Now, unless I missed a couple weeks here and there that I forget about with Happy Hour, maybe that's accurate. But yeah, I mean, I would say if I was with Happy Hour for 150 plus episodes, I was with the Stabcast for 120 plus episodes.
How many podcasts have you been on?
I have been on, I say more than I probably average more than one a year in my 9.5 years.
That's so cool.
Because I ran my own network for a while.
Yeah,
so
that sounds like a hard work job.
Oh my God. And I was on every show. So that was the issue. So the only show I was on that wasn't part of my own network was the Stabcast. That show.
I remember that show too. I remember seeing it on Twitter all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
I was part of the Stabcast.
Probably follow each other.
Yeah. I was just my very first podcast was Happy Hour with Steel Tip, and then after 18 weeks of that, me and the producer we bumped heads, created differences. I was an asshole, he was an asshole, whatever you want to say. We went different ways. Him and one of my buddies that was also a producer on that show started the Stabcast. I started Creepcast. Creepcast did not last long. The Stabcast lasted forever. I want to say around episode 80 of the Stabcast, I had started talking to those guys again. I said, listen, I don't want to start a show called Happy Hour without your consent. Can I start Happy Hour with your consent, please? And the dude said, yeah, go ahead, do it. By the way, like Jonesy, he stopped doing the show a little while ago. The guy that replaced Jonesy, he's getting ready to leave. Until I find a new co-host, can I contract you out 5 weeks at a time? I was like, totally. And that turned into like we'll say for ease sake, like 180 episode arc, of me being part of that show. I mean, that show sadly ended about a year and a half ago, I think.
Oh, damn.
But like that, there was the Jonesy era, there was the Bruce W / stick cam era, and then there was like the longest era was the Steel Tip era, and that was me. Like I used to wrestle as Steel Tip, so I did podcasting as Steel Tip. But I was the longest co-host on that show. I think the second longest co-host may have been the guy who replaced me when I left, but it was it was just such like a nuts show. We were on Stickcam. We helped define the produced show on Stickcam. When they got on Stickcam because of Bruce W and his good looks, but we stayed on Stickcam because of like our humor and my humor.
That's
and
awesome.
Stuff. So like it was like, and like that's Stickcam reached out to me and said, hey, we know that you do this Walking Dead show. Can we not pay you, but can we feature you on the site? Because we would like to have our own version of the Talking Dead. And I was like, of course you can. And then we got the cease and desist from AMC to not do our show anymore.
That's pretty funny that they even found out about you.
Well, it's kind of my fault because Nerdist was doing a live podcast with Chris Hardwick, obviously in Philly. So I emailed the dude, Chris Hardwick, or whoever checks his Facebook, and said, hey man, love your show, love The Walking Dead, love The Talking Dead. Funny story, I do a podcast kind of like your show, except I've been doing it longer, and would love to open for the Nerdist podcast at the Trock or whatever. And then literally less than 24 hours later, I got a cease and desist.
Wait, what? Because of the same name or the content?
No, because so our show was, mind you, one of our good friends that we made while doing the podcast did a podcast called The Walking Dead Podcast. Mind you, on iTunes, there was also The Talking Dead that was not The Talking Dead from AMC.
Oh.
We were The Walking Dead Zomcast.
And they could shut you down because of that?
They can threaten to shut you down, and that could be scary enough to say, well, fuck it, I'm going to just be... Now, it didn't shut us down. All I did was now what I'm relaunching it because every time I watch The Walking Dead I want to talk about it. So as I said in part 1 of this episode, we've relaunched it with this dude Steve from the Saturday Detention podcast, and him and I are co-hosting what we just call the Zomcast now, an unofficial. That's the thing that I do now with podcasts that I do or produce. That are about a television show, is it's got to be in the title, the name of the podcast, an unofficial Walking Dead podcast, an unofficial Once Upon a Time podcast, because I'm not going to deal with that cease and desist bullshit anymore.
Maybe just don't email them directly and tell them you're doing it.
That
still kind of
exactly.
sucks.
That was my fault.
Yeah, but I would have never thought that would even happen. I thought they would be happy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Who knows? But anyway, before we wrap this show up, because I forgot that like no, not everyone's a late cat like me.
No, not anymore, man. Old or 9 to 5
yeah.
gigs do that to you. I used to work
It's
every other hour of the day, except the ones where people are at work, and now I'm like become one of those people.
Yeah, no, I was when I did the installs for like Wawas and stuff. Was when I would work overnights and whatnot.
Yeah, I did
so
overnights
like
for a while.
I probably just got to like a normal schedule where I get sleepy around 10 p.m. now.
Yeah.
Like a year ago. But
It takes
I
a toll on your
still
life.
kind of like it, I still like I just need to accept that I can't if I'm gonna wake up at 5:30 every morning. I got to go to bed at 11 or whatnot. But I also like I don't think about time when I do the podcast. I wake up at 5:30 so that I can like usually clean up a little bit or do dishes or just do something random that I forgot to do the night before.
Damn, you are a Superman.
Yeah, it's so I operate usually on about 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and then I catch up sometime over the weekend if my kids will allow me to. But before I let you go, this is because we've talked before. I think it's one of the podcasts where we don't really do the interview part, really. Yeah. But I do want to add. The only other question I guess I have for you is what made you decide to start your podcast? Like, what is your podcast origin point?
Oh yeah, so it's kind of selfish and vain. Other than I loved podcast, and I was like, this is the one art form I could do. I wanted to be on a podcast, and there was no reason I should ever be on one. And the reason I ended up someone I'm still friends with, but her ex-boyfriend, and I ended up we used to work together for the same agency, and we were in a training together. And we were talking, this is what 4 years ago. So they're very popular, but they were not as common now. So if you met someone who listened to something you listened to, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, people were out there, but for me, it was a big deal to meet someone. So I think he basically did a Facebook status, like looking to start a podcast. And so I think it was our version of that. So we met on Facebook. Yeah, let's do it. And for some reason, he was a really good doer at starting things, which I'm not. But I'm good at like continuing things going forward, and he was not.
Yeah.
So that kind of worked out. And then I don't know why I just kept going by the origins, but I don't know. I'd never had that sensation in my life. I'm like, I think I could do this, and I would probably be good at it, and it's fun. And I'm definitely an extrovert. So I moved to Providence like 5 years ago. And it was also it really was a way to start, just to make friends. I think ultimately to meet more people outside of my work. And I was talking about this the other day. One of the things, I didn't have any hobbies at the time. I used to work 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time. And then I got down to like one job, and I would go to bed every night. And I was just started working for this like in the mental health field, like just thinking about work every night. And then, having the hobby kind of helped my self-care and my happiness, because I can go to bed and turn off my brain about work and just focus on the show and have that be my fun stress is what I call it. And I think that was another piece of it, was just like, I needed a hobby. I think I could do it. And it all just kind of came together, and I can't believe it's gone this long. I swear to God. And then there's some moments I'm like, I'm just getting going. I'm never stopping. And there's other moments I'm like, I think I should wrap the show up. How do I end it? So it depends on which week you catch me. So some days I have like, the world is my oyster, and this is gonna be the biggest podcast you'll ever get. And then other days I'm like, I'll just see if my idiot friend will come on. I don't have a guest this week.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the roller coaster that like all indie podcasters at least have, is like, all right, like I mean, like I said, I hit that wall in November, like when my uncle passed. I was like, oh, I can't do it. And like, I mean, I just literally, I threw it up on Twitter saying, listen, they're not going to get anything for a couple weeks. It's, it will be explained in time and whatnot. And it is something that, like, as someone who's been doing it for 9.5 years, like, it's something that as a creative person, like, you just get that itch. Like, if you stop doing it for X amount of time, like, I guarantee you stop doing Let's Chat today, like within within 6 months tops.
Yeah, I'd start it back
you'd
up.
start having that hit. Like,
Yeah.
you'd be like, I need, whether you start up that podcast or you do something different. Like, I have this, like, I really want to do a tabletop podcast, but like, I have such specifics that I want to do. Like, I listen to this podcast called Campaign Podcast. It's a Star Wars Edge of the Empire like D&D type game with their own. It's not really D&D rules, but it is. Oh my god! All right, have you seen Rogue One?
I'm actually going tomorrow.
Okay, so I mean, it's nothing like Rogue One, but it is like Rogue One. Like the Campaign Podcast is the story of these people stealing plans for the murder ball, as they call it, the Death Star. But it takes place whatever year it is when Luke and Leia are about 5 years old. So it's not like so Rogue One takes place about 14 years after that.
Okay.
So they try to keep things in canon. Like this Campaign Podcast, like they make sure everything kind of stays, they try not to screw with Star Wars canon. So like, if there's, like, for instance, they can't go and find Luke on Tatooine and kill him. Like, they can't do that. But they do have fun. It's just such a fun podcast. Most of the people involved are like either lifelong like tabletop players, so they really get what RPG is about. Or they're like improvers. They're in Chicago, so they're Chicago improvers.
Oh man.
So it's just really, really funny. And like, that's what I want to do. I'm like, let's just make something that's super funny. And like, everyone around me is like, why do we want to podcast our D&D game? And I'm like, because it's awesome. Just do it. And I can't get anyone to do it yet. So
it's hard to rely on others.
Not the way
I think that's why it's so easy to have a podcast solo and book a guest. Cause it's like,
well, and that's why I foresee, like, so for the first, we'll say 8.5 years of me doing a podcast or doing podcasting, I had like, we'll say 10 shows, and now I've been doing Everything Is Awesome for the last year, and I feel like this is the one that like it's going to go forever. Like, I don't feel this one ending. It may take little breaks here and there. Like, I may drop from doing 52 episodes a year to like, I'm going to go down to like, I'm going to take a couple weeks off here and there. So it might be like 48 episodes a year.
I think I should start doing that, man. I put this pressure on myself for absolutely no reason.
Well, so what we used to do, like for the Stabcast, I was contracted for, I think it was about 45 episodes a year. So I was like, there were certain weeks where I knew I wasn't like, hey, I'm taking Christmas off. I'm taking New Year's off. Like, there was the holidays that we got off. And then there was like 2 weeks that was built in for me to say, hey, I'm going on vacation. I can't be there. So that was like always kind of my number, was like, I'm going to do 45 to 48 podcasts a year. Now that I'm doing Everything Is Awesome, it's like, I want to do 52 a year. I want to do one every week. And all my specials
and
that
bonus
I want to do.
episodes.
So like, I feel like that. Yeah. So I feel like that's going to die down, in I think in 2017, I want to be more consistent, so I want to at least do 52 normal episodes and have them released on time. And then I'll have my bonus episodes that I want to do, which right now is definitely going to be Robin Williams and Christmas, and maybe a Carrie Fisher one. We'll see.
That's
but
smart.
Yeah, so I don't, and then I eventually, like I said, I figure I'll probably dip down from that, because I also love the idea of doing more live shows. Like, I want to do ideally 6 live shows a year. I think
that,
is like
that intrigues me. Do you think if it were possible, if you could quit your job and tour, would you?
Oh, if I could do that in a heartbeat, and I would in a heartbeat. But I think what I need to do is I need to become a filmmaker first to do that.
Have a reason. And have a name, a draw besides the show itself.
Yeah, and that's also part of 2017 is like, okay, like, here's 3 things I want to do. Podcast, consistency. I'm working on a novel. That's going to get published in 2017. I'm working on a screenplay. That's going to get filmed in 2017. Or that's going to get completed in 2017 and hopefully plans to film it in 2018. So, like, there's all these, like, things that I'm setting up to hopefully,
so you're like a true creative person. Like, the podcast is the most creative thing I do.
Yeah, no, I would say that the podcast is probably the most creative. Yeah, I still think it's the most creative thing I do because it's the only thing that I actually do and publish. Like I have a bunch of things written that have never been truly published. But I was in November. November is National Novel Writing Month.
Yes.
And there's a website.
Is that what you write a
Yeah,
novel?
there's yeah, you're right. You write 50,000 words in the month of November.
How many words a day does that work out to be?
It's about I think it's a 1667, something like that.
Jesus Christ!
And this year was the year I was like, this is the year that I'm going to do it. This is the year that I'm going to hit 50,000 words. It's only the second year I did it, but this is the year I'm going to do it. I'm going to write 50,000 words this year. And then 6 days in is when my uncle passed away, and 3 days in is when I found out it's going to happen. Like he's not going to be around. So I did not finish that goal. But then I said, all right, in December, I'll hit those 50,000 words. And of course we did not. So, or I'm not going to, because I haven't been writing much at all in December, but, that's all become my 2017 goal. So yeah, I guess I am more creative than just the podcast, but the only thing that I publish is the podcast.
Yeah. Well, there's the creative side and the business side, and they don't always mix, right? Like it's hard.
Yeah, and it's especially hard with
life.
Life with life. I mean, I have 2 kids. My son's gonna be 5 in about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's a fun age.
My daughter, yeah, sure.
Boy and a girl. That's adorable.
Yes, my daughter is 2.5.
Oh, yeah, I have a nephew who's 2.5, or almost 3. I was playing with him over Christmas. Just oh my god, he's so fun. But God, Yeah. Oh my God. Well, you know what? She's she kind of I think has already hit that. I think she's past that point. She does throw temper tantrums every now and then, but my son is at that 5-anger or 4-anger portion of it. Like he is the last month or so. It's oh my God, I just want to punch you in the face, funny. But I can't. Because they'll take you away from me. We got a Batgirl onesie for our daughter, our daughter who's due in May, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm yes, what a good time to have kids, right? All that stuff is popular.
Yeah, it's so cool to have and as much as my son wants to he always wants to watch these geeky things with me now and whatnot. I could totally tell he's gonna be more like his mom and not give a fuck about it.
Yeah. DuckTales was being rebooted.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm hoping that he falls in love with that.
I saw that voice cast. It was all people I love.
Oh my God. David Tennant.
Ben Schwartz, Kate McCucci, the SNL guy, Bobby Moynihan. It was mostly comedians.
Bedford Community. Yeah, dude.
And Danny Pudi.
That's his name. Yeah, him. When I saw the first person I saw in that video was Ben Schwartz. Yeah, and
right? Ben Schwartz, and you're just what are you doing?
I'm oh my God. I was you're in it, and Danny Puddy's in it, or Pudi, and then when they showed that David Tennant was Scrooge, I'm oh, that's perfect.
That blew my fucking mind.
I'm so excited I'm probably more excited for that than my kids will be.
DuckTales holds up. I watched that as an adult. I still like that.
I haven't watched it in a while, but I can see it. I can see it holding up.
The DVDs
it was
are pretty good.
Such a good show.
I have some of the DVDs.
That's the one good thing about kind of the reboots and whatnot. I was thinking about it the other day because my son got a T-Rex Zord, or what do they call it from Power Rangers? Are they Zords?
Power Rangers I barely remember.
Yeah, but the new Power Rangers movie is coming out, and he's really into Power Rangers. He watches it on Netflix.
I saw a movie with my brother, and I saw a movie together, and we saw the preview for this movie, and we got really into it. And all of a sudden, it was it ended up being Power Rangers, and it really threw us for a loop.
Yeah, it's. I'm pretty excited for that movie. My kid can't go see it. That's not a 5-year-old power. I can show him the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie from the 90s and be fine with that.
Don't do that to him. He's better than that. I was a kid and saw that and I knew it was garbage.
But yeah, I mean the Turtles, there's all
Yeah, I
this
like the
stuff
new
that's
Turtles.
like coming
You know,
back.
I went to Rhode Island Comic Con this year, and I was in the line for the panel to see 11 from Stranger Things, and then there was a line behind our line for the panel afterwards, and it was Power Rangers, and it sold out, or not sold out, it filled up. I had no idea Power Rangers were that popular.
Yeah, it's
weird.
It is weird. It's weird that all this stuff that's popular from when I was a kid again, and I love it though.
No, I think
like,
it's too, but Power Rangers weren't even that good when we were kids.
But I loved it for some
me
reason.
too.
I loved it when I was a kid.
I never came back to
why.
it. So like, I was like, really?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I watched like the whatever the new version is because that's what's on Netflix right now.
Yeah,
and it's awful. Like there's like 10 Power Rangers. I'm like, what the fuck is this? There's like 10 of them in costumes.
Dude, life, it's crazy. Yeah, it kind of blew my. But I guess that's the thing, right? Like those people will probably sustain careers by just going on the con circuit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the Green Ranger, Tommy?
Oh, the one who does
UFC
name? For Christ.
The White Ranger? Yeah, like that guy. Like, yeah, the white / Green Ranger.
And
like
Amy Jo Johnson.
He literally played Tommy. Is she still doing it?
She was at Rhode Island Comic Con. Every year I've ever been there, she's there.
Oh, but you know what?
That was my first crush.
I feel like she's more recently enjoying like coming like, and I say recently probably within the last 5 years. Tommy, like that dude played Jason David Frank. He played Tommy for years. Like he was in Power Rangers. Like he played a professor. Like he played like a teacher.
That guy as an actor, if you're just like, I need to work, good for him, man. Good for fucking him. I bet he has like the best life too. Like he's probably happy. He's not famous, but famous enough in his, he works, and I bet he loves what he does. And then he probably goes home and has a fantastic life.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
And people make fun of actors. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? I'm sure that dude is fucking enjoying his time there, and then going home and having a beautiful home and family, and like,
and he
living his best life.
It's crazy how much money they make at cons. Like Stephen Amell, Arrow from Arrow.
Oh, he has his own con.
He has his own con.
Yeah, he's the guy behind Heroes and Villains Con.
Oh, he started that?
Yeah, it's like his company. He's I heard him on Wrong Guy. He's a quite smart businessman as well.
Well, I know he started a company that helps manage con events for you.
Yeah,
so that you can like. Yeah, so I know I
didn't know
that was part of
entrepreneur, like an actor. He's like, all right, this is going good now, but this isn't going to last forever. But yeah,
and like, well, he said that he could just leave Arrow and work the con circuit, and like what he makes in a weekend is like way more than his per episode that he makes.
Yeah, isn't that weird? But then
Arrow.
he's also very good. He's good at fandom. Like he gets it, or his team gets it. He does Facebook Live. Yeah. My wife loves him, obviously, and he actually seems like a good dude. But he's on Facebook Live and Instagram. Like he's like, he gets it. Like he's smart, right? He's probably playing the long game. Like I like the business side of the stuff too. So I really think he's like a guy, like he's like, well, my job can disappear. Arrow can get canceled tomorrow and I'll still have something to fall back on. And he's so into creating that fandom. And he seems to comes off as genuine. I don't know him, but it really does feel like he genuinely cares.
Yeah, no, that whole CW lineup is great. And Stephen Amell, like you were saying, seems like he's great on social media and with the fan base. And I really
he's really built. I mean, I know the Berlantes too, but like those crossover, like that whole universe. I mean, I guess the executives must see it as a cash cow, but it's treated with great art and respect, and I fucking love it. I love all those shows, except Supergirl. I don't watch as much, but I do like.
Oh my god, really? We're about to release. I think it will release probably the week or two before this episode. I did an Invasion special with Steve from the Saturday Detention podcast, and he feels the same way. He hasn't really watched Supergirl, but it's hard for him to watch certain episodes down in Australia. But I'm a huge fan of The Flash, and I think Supergirl. I think Supergirl feels like a natural extension of The Flash.
Oh, season 1 Flash, yeah.
I love that. I love both those shows. I love seeing The Flash and Supergirl interact.
I loved it, but I just don't watch her show as much.
I see. I think the Flash is my favorite show.
Mine.
Followed by Supergirl, followed by Legends, and followed Arrow has become my least favorite, to be honest.
I think everyone's been saying that about Arrow.
But season 5, what are they in season 5 now? Season 5 has turned around.
Yeah, it got a little dark, and I also heard some they were doing like 5 TV shows, so it kind of got less attention. But they've done some great action scenes.
Yeah. Well, and last season 4 was like, I forgave a lot of what people were bitching about for season 4, but the last episode, the season finale, was very bullshit. Like, it felt like The Dark Knight Rises. Like, it felt like they recreated that big battle scene at the end of The Dark Knight Rises. It just I think the Flash is better, to be honest. Like,
it's way better. And so I don't know these characters outside of the TV show, to be honest. Like, I never read the comics. Like, that's not my world until now. So I'm like, as an adult finding this stuff, so I'm totally on board for everything.
Yeah, well, I as far as DC is concerned, and even with Batman, like, I consider myself a Batman buff, but really all my Batman history is based on TV show and like
animated,
maybe Googling. Yeah, the animated series is fantastic. But like, and I've read the new 52 Batman. I thought that was really good. But everything else DC wise, I know nothing. I've never ever like. Death of Superman I'd read, obviously, but aside from, and Watchmen, only other DC things I've read. Everything else is, as far as my comic book stuff is Marvel related. So everything that I'm experiencing through the CW universe is just first stuff, like Invasion. I thought it was a great crossover, and like Steve from Saturday Detention was pointing out the things that they missed and whatnot.
Yeah, I think there's something nice about being like a new fan because I don't have to hate it.
Yeah.
Superhero fans can kind of be, comic book fans are easily the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah, well,
or they just hate everything.
And I'm like, so for instance, like someone accused me of being that guy when it comes to the Man of Steel, and I said,
because that movie
like,
sucked.
Yeah, I was like, but see, it's not that they changed Superman drastically. Like, that's not my issue. It's that it's a bad movie, and B, like, I don't care, like, if you want to make it darker, that's fine, but like he would not save his dad. He would not save a bus full of children. He would not break someone's neck. Like, that's just not Superman. Like,
it's just because they're not paying attention to the like in TV they call that the show Bible, and it's just like they didn't follow it.
Yeah,
were they doing that to set up Batman vs Superman? Were they thinking that far ahead?
Maybe, but like I haven't watched that movie yet, but like, I don't know, from what I hear, that the only thing we got out of that was a good Batman. Like, I don't know.
I've shit on that movie enough. It's really bad.
I will sit down and watch it because I do want to, like,
I've heard the extended cut makes it like watchable because
I've heard that too.
From what I've gathered and from what I've heard is the movie kind of falls short on comes down to the editing, where they just took out certain parts that make the continuity. Because there's a lot of the movie that just doesn't make any sense. It seems like they cut out any of the story, essentially.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we could probably go another 2 hours on what's wrong with the DC movie universe.
I didn't see Suicide Squad.
I did not, but I just actually for Christmas, so about 2 weeks ago, I got my Xbox One back from, it broke a few months ago. I sent it into Xbox. They got it back to me repaired about 2 weeks ago. But for Christmas, my parents got me the new Xbox One S, which plays 4K. And someone else got me the Suicide Squad movie in 4K. So I'm gonna set that up. I was gonna set that up tonight, but that's probably not gonna happen. But I'm gonna set it up so that I can make sure that it works. Wipe out the old Xbox One and sell it for whatever. And I'm gonna watch Suicide Squad because I had a lot of hope for that. And again, from what I hear about that movie is that we got a good Harley Quinn out of it.
It just seems to come down to editing.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, we could do another 2 hours on how they're failing in their movie universe. I think we can just leave it at that. Like the CW TV universe is fantastic. Like,
I love how much Tom Cavanaugh is an advocate for Grant Gustin to be in the Flash movies.
Oh, he fucking should be. I hate that it's. I don't hate that it's the other guy. I hate that it's not Grant Gustin.
Yeah, but I guess my brother is like, you know what? Just be happy because they would fuck up the TV show. I was like, okay, that's fair.
You're true.
So I guess that's my new thought. I was like, you know what, leave it alone. This is it's too
Yeah.
fucking good for it's too good for what you guys have planned.
I agree with that.
Don't meddle. In all honesty, what they should do is get fucking Greg Berlanti up in there and get rid of fucking Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
Get Kreisberg, get those dudes making your TV shows and let them have their alternate version of Flash in the movie sphere. Just they're not the same actor, but like someone who just fucking knows and respects that shit.
Yeah, and it's weird because I was like, Greg Berlanti is the guy that brought us Green Lantern. Like that's why he's like shunned from the movie world now.
And then, I've heard him talk about that, and he's like, I wrote it, but what I wanted to make and what came out were not the same thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that that's not like his fault at all. But
I think a lot of executives are, just it's tough, and I guess there's more creative control probably with the CW. Then there's like a multi-million-dollar movie. It's like, this is a little network that no one knows about.
And we'll end on this little note about that is that I heard something brilliant. I think it was Andrew Kreisberg said on Fat Man on Batman is that they sprinkle in little things early on so that the network doesn't say no. And then like it all builds. We talked about this earlier in our episode here. Like all these little small things build upon one another to get to Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins that the network can't say no. So if you go back and watch Arrow season 1, and I forget when the League of Assassins and Raj were introduced. I don't know if it was season 2 or 3, but if you go back to season 1 and rewatch up like season 1 and part of season 2 or all of season 2 and see the little references to that, they were building upon all this crap so that the network eventually can't say no.
Impressive.
They can't say no to the Lazarus Pit now because they've built all these little building blocks to get to it. So it's pretty genius how they did it, and to CW's benefit, like it's a big win for CW. So
they got what, 5 TV shows out of that one dude?
Yeah,
5 hits.
Yeah, 5. Is it 5 or it's 4 plus Riverdale, right?
Oh yeah, because he's gonna be doing that too, right?
Yeah. It's Flash, Legends, Arrow, and Supergirl.
And then now Riverdale.
And then Riverdale, which looks kind of like Twin Peaks.
And then I really like a show. Well, we got to wrap it up, but I also like iZombie, which is not related, but I just really like that show.
Is that his or is that?
No, it's just a show I like.
It is.
It's the guy who created Veronica Mars. The guy and the woman, the 2 people from Veronica Mars.
But also DC. It is part of the DC. That is DC
but I don't know if it has anything to do with the comic.
Oh, really? It's that far. I have no idea.
I just don't know the comic. I just know the TV show. It just kind of feels more. It's more of a detective show than it is a zombie show.
I need to binge it because I watched the first. Netflix. I watched the first 10 episodes like week to week when it first came on, and then
dude, season 2. Trust me, just do it. Trust me.
Yeah,
they do a legit zombie movie for the season finale.
Oh, that's fantastic! All right, I'm gonna sit down and binge watch it over the next couple of weeks here. All right, Chris, give out some plugs. Let's it's past midnight for us. Let's get to bed.
So I have 2 podcasts. That's how you can tell how much I pay attention to the other one, called Sketched Out on TV with my buddy Bubba Wheat from the Filmwise podcast and Flights, Tights, and Movie Nights website. Why am I plugging him? Anyway, we have about 5 episodes out, and we talk about a specific sketch from different sketch TV shows. My main squeeze is my Let's Chat with Revill and Friends. I'm on the Core Temp Arts Network, which is fucking awesome. And I'm on Twitter at Let's Chat Podcast. There's a Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But I use Twitter way too much. And go back and listen to Kev's episode, and he will be back on at some point. And
yes.
I feel like you should just be one of my new go-to random podcast guy who comes on every few months.
Oh, totally. I love being that guy. I haven't been that guy yet, but I will love being that guy.
I have that with a couple people, and I've sometimes I gotta actually have to give you props because I've put out maybe 170 something episodes, and I have not been on that many podcasts. And you'd be surprised how many people say that they're gonna have you on their show after you have them on and then never do. But you were, even with your family loss of your uncle, you were, for some reason, you would still write to me and be like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm going through some stuff, but I'm going to have you on. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And I just that's nice. I'm like, you don't have to tell me that. You could just say fuck you and never talk to me again. And the world will go on. That you said it and it actually happened. And I really am thankful for that, because I really like talking to you when you came on my show. So it was really fun.
Yeah, no, it's I say this, and I mentioned this in my my Doom Thugs episode, but I say Patronus a lot, but like we're like the same person, let alone the same show. It's weird. Like it's really weird.
Yeah. So anyone who's had a podcast and hasn't me had on your show, well, I won't say anything bad about you, but come on, hook it up.
Let's hook it up, guys.
It's funny. We totally met a random Twitter. I think you were, or one of us was just like looking for guests to do a crossover, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was something like that, or like I know I was looking to promote, I think, the New York show, and that's like what I was all about, like a couple months ago. So it was like,
that's so.
But
funny.
And anytime, like, you're gonna be a go-to, because, like I said, we got 2 hours to kill on the DC movie universe.
Man, and little things will lead to little things, and I have a ton of fucking people to connect you with, and vice versa, and beautiful things will come out of this.
I agree. Yeah, and you know, I think what I need to do is, instead of trying to form my own podcast network, I need to do what you did and just go find a network to be part of, because
if you're looking,
less work for
hit me up afterwards. I can put a good word into someone.
Oh, sweet, cool.
I need to go to bed. I have a podcast in like 9 hours.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to let you go. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. Yes, that's how much of a Kevin Smith fan I am. I am at ThatNerdyKev now. You can find this show on Twitter at Real Awesome Podcast. You can find us on patreon.com/ Awesome Podcast. Yes, we have a Patreon. All I'm going to say is give us $1. Every listener give us $1 a month. I promise you good ththings will happen. And that equates to $12 a year out of your pocket. It's not that much. As we say on Too Cool for Tabletop, $12 a year, bro. For Everything is Awesome. And of course, thank you to Chris from Let's Chat. But for Everything is Awesome, I am your host, Kev, and we'll see you next time right here on awesomepodcast.com. We've been awesome.
Everything is Awesome is part of Courts and Parts, a podcast network featuring pop culture, TV, movie, and geek podcasts. Check out some of our other shows, like TV Ate My Brain, Let's Chat with Revill and Friends, and Podstalgic at courtsandparts.com.